Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. My daughter Bianca screamed at me the other night. "You ruined my life with your stupid rules," she shouted, eyes blazing. "I hate you and wish I had different parents who actually understand me. You're the worst dad ever, and I can't wait to move out." I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at her and said, "Sure." Then I quietly went into action. No yelling, no lectures. I withdrew her allowance, reclaimed the car keys, and changed the Wi-Fi password. 2 days later, she was knocking desperately on my bedroom door. I'm Dylan. I'm 46, a single dad to my daughter Bianca, who just turned 18. I work in construction management, been in the field for about 15 years now. I started from the bottom, swinging hammers in 100-degree heat, and slowly worked my way up. Now I manage crews that build office complexes and shopping centers all over our city. It's honest work. Pays decent, around $78,000 a year, but it's physical as hell. I'm up by 5 a.m. every single day. I'm home by 6 p.m., covered in dust and concrete, and my back reminds me every morning that I'm not 25 anymore. Let me paint you a picture of what my days look like. Alarm goes off at 5. I down some coffee and a protein bar while checking the weather report and crew schedules. I'm on site by 6:30, where I spend the day coordinating deliveries, solving problems, and dealing with city inspectors who act like they're doing me a personal favor just by showing up. By the time I get home, I'm exhausted. I'm covered in sawdust, with concrete under my fingernails that takes forever to scrub out. Most nights, I don't even have the energy to do anything except shower, eat whatever's in the fridge, and pass out watching Netflix. But I love my job. There's something satisfying about driving past a building and knowing I helped create that. Knowing families will live there or businesses will thrive there for decades. It's real work. It matters. Bianca's mom, Renee, and I divorced when Bianca was 8. Renee, let's just say she never really grew up. She still wanted to party and act like she was in college while I was trying to actually raise our daughter. Picture this. I'd come home from a 10-hour shift, bone-tired, and find 8-year-old Bianca eating cereal for dinner again. Renee would be sprawled on the couch, too tired to cook after spending the whole day shopping or hanging out with friends. The divorce was messy. Renee fought hard for 50-50 custody, but the reality was she could barely keep a job or maintain a clean apartment. During one custody hearing, the judge actually asked her, "Ms. Renee, can you explain why there were dirty dishes from 3 weeks ago still in your sink when you knew social services was coming for a home visit?" I ended up with primary custody, and Renee only gets Bianca every other weekend and some holidays. Honestly, best thing that ever happened to Bianca, even if she doesn't see it that way. Here's what her life looks like. We live in a 4-bedroom house in a solid school district, the kind I busted my ass to afford. The mortgage is $2,100 a month, which eats up nearly 40% of my take-home pay. But I did it so she could go to good schools and have opportunities one never did. Her bedroom? It's bigger than my first apartment when I moved out at 18, 15 by 12 feet, with a walk-in closet and her own private bathroom. That walk-in closet? Stuffed to the brim with Lululemon $90 leggings, Urban Outfitters $60 hoodies, and American Eagle $80 jeans. Places I wouldn't even step into for myself. But for her, somehow it became normal. And the electronics? She's got everything. A MacBook Pro for school, $1,800. An iPad for digital art, $600. An iPhone 14 Pro because the 13 is too slow, $200. AirPods, $250. And not because hers were broken. No, she just didn't want to deal with wires because, in her words, wires are gross. Her room has a full gaming setup, a PS5, a Nintendo Switch, and a custom PC that I shelled out $1,500 for. All of it connected to a 55-inch TV because the 65-inch one in the living room was too far away to see from her bed. Every month, $350 goes straight from my checking account to hers. Not for gas or bills or anything useful, just spending money. She uses it for whatever she wants. $30 movie nights with friends, $7 Starbucks runs every morning, $50 Sephora lipsticks that vanish into drawers and never get used. I've watched her drop $40 on lunch at some trendy spot downtown, eat 2 bites, then toss the rest in the trash because I wasn't that hungry. And here's the part that really sticks in my throat. She's never shown a single ounce of gratitude. Not once. Last Christmas, I got her AirPods Pro. She opened the box, looked up at me, and said, "Why didn't you get me the Max ones? Sarah's dad got her those, and they're way better." No thank you. No smile. Just instant disappointment that I didn't spend even more. For her 18th birthday, just 3 months ago, I bought her a 2019 Jeep Wrangler. Paid $22,000 in cash. I'd been saving for 2 years, putting away $400 to $500 every month. Eating ramen for lunch and skipping vacations to make it happen. It's in my name. I pay the insurance, $180 a month, because teenage drivers cost a damn fortune. I pay for the gas, $140 a month, and all the maintenance. Every oil change, every tire rotation, every weird dashboard light. She's never even pumped her own gas. One time I told her, "Hey, you should learn to do this." She wrinkled her nose and said, "It smells gross, and I don't want to get my hands dirty. Just do it." I've literally seen her drive past 3 cheaper gas stations to get to the expensive one, just because the pumps there are cleaner. And for all that, my rules for this generosity are pretty damn simple. Maintain at least a C+ average. She's smart enough for A's, easily, but I'm not expecting miracles. Do your own laundry. Keep the common areas clean. Be home by midnight on weekends and by 10 p.m. on school nights. Text me where you're going and who you're with. Just basic safety stuff. Show some basic respect and courtesy. Say please and thank you. Don't interrupt when someone's speaking. Clean up after yourself. That's it. I'm not making her get a job. I'm not asking her to pay rent, cook dinner, or take on any real responsibility. Nothing that most 18-year-olds in the real world have to do. All I expect is that she be a decent human being and a halfway responsible student. But here's where everything starts going off the rails. Every other weekend, when Bianca heads to Renee's apartment, she comes back with a completely different attitude. Like a switch has been flipped. Renee lives in this fantasy world where she plays cool best friend instead of being an actual mother. They go shopping. With money I send Renee for emergencies. She spills all her dating drama to Bianca, lets her sleep until 2 in the afternoon, and orders takeout for every meal. And the whole time, she's trash-talking me. She's always going on about how strict and old-fashioned I am. I told my buddy at work the other day, like having a curfew and basic house rules is some sort of medieval torture. Renee works part-time at some boutique, probably making around $35,000 a year. She lives in a tiny apartment and drives a 12-year-old Honda with a dented bumper. But somehow, I'm the bad guy for having structure, for keeping things stable. And I've heard the conversations. Bianca doesn't even try to whisper. "Your dad is so controlling," Renee says. "When I was 18, my parents trusted me to make my own decisions." This, coming from a woman who's been evicted twice and had her car repossessed. The past year has been absolute hell. Bianca's grades tanked, from B's to C- and D's. She started treating our house like a hotel. Dishes left everywhere. The bathroom looked like a hurricane hit it. Makeup, hair tools, and products scattered across every surface. Her bedroom floor? A minefield of dirty clothes until she had literally nothing clean left to wear. I found moldy plates under her bed. Empty energy drink cans shoved between the mattress and the wall. The curfew? A joke. She'd roll in at 1 a.m. on school nights like it was no big deal. And when I'd be waiting up, worried sick, she'd act surprised. "We lost track of time," she'd say. Or, "Monica's mom said she could stay out late, so I thought it was okay." When I'd tell her, "Monica's mom doesn't make the rules in our house," she'd just roll her eyes and mutter whatever under her breath. Every conversation turned into her scrolling through TikTok while I talked. No eye contact. No response. Just the occasional sigh or scoff. Then she'd storm off to her room and immediately FaceTime Renee. And I could hear the same complaint over and over again through the wall. "He's so unfair, Mom. All my friends have normal parents who trust them. He interrogates me about everything. It's like living in prison." Prison. In a house where her biggest responsibility was putting her damn plate in the dishwasher. I started feeling like a stranger in my own home. I'd come home from a 10-hour day of actual work, real, physical labor, to find her sprawled on the couch I'd saved months to buy, eating food I'd paid for, using the internet I paid for, to complain about how unfair her life was. And it was eating me alive. I'd lie in bed at night staring at the ceiling, wondering where I went wrong. How this kid I'd sacrificed everything for could have so little respect for me. How she could see everything I provided, the house, the car, the phone, the freedom, and still act like I was the enemy. Honestly, the breaking point should have come a long time ago. Like the time I found out she'd been lying about going to study groups, and was actually at parties where kids were doing things that would make any parent's hair curl. Or the call from her English teacher saying she'd cheated on a test, looking up answers on her phone right there in the classroom. Or when I found vape cartridges stashed in a shoebox under her bed, bought with the allowance money I gave her. But somehow, I kept making excuses. Kept thinking, maybe if I just tried harder. Maybe if I explained things better. Showed more understanding. Classic enabling behavior. I see that now. Then, 3 weeks ago, I got a call at work from Mrs. Preston, Bianca's English teacher. Now Mrs. Preston doesn't sugarcoat things. She's one of those old school teachers who actually gives a damn and won't lie to parents just to keep the peace. Mr. Johnson, she said, and I could tell from her tone that whatever was coming wasn't going to be good. I wanted to talk to you about Bianca's final essay. What about it? I asked, already bracing myself. It was due 2 weeks ago, she said, and she hasn't turned it in. I was standing in the middle of a job site, watching my crew install drywall. Power tools were screaming in the background, so I stepped away from the noise, ducking behind a stack of materials just to hear her better. What do you mean, hasn't turned it in? I asked. I mean she hasn't submitted anything, Mrs. Preston said. No draft. No outline. No excuse. Nothing. My stomach dropped. That essay was worth 40% of her semester grade. If she didn't turn it in, she'd fail the class, which meant she wouldn't graduate. Has she said anything about it? Given you any reason? I asked. I've asked her twice, she said. The first time, she told me she'd have it done by the end of the week. That was 2 weeks ago. When I asked again yesterday, she just shrugged and said she'd get it done soon. Then she walked away while I was still talking to her. Jesus, I muttered. I'm sorry, Mrs. Preston. I had no idea. I've been teaching for 23 years, Mr. Johnson, she said. I can usually tell when a student is struggling versus when they just don't care. Bianca is capable of A-level work when she applies herself, but lately, she seems to think rules don't apply to her. I thanked her, hung up the phone, and stood there for a long moment, just staring down at the concrete dust swirling around my boots. The rest of the day, I was completely out of it. My crew probably thought I was losing it. I kept checking my phone like something was about to explode, staring off into space instead of paying attention to the electrical work we were inspecting. I pulled into the driveway around 6:15 p.m. The sun was just starting to set, casting this orange glow across the front of the house. Through the window, I could already see the familiar blue flicker of the TV lighting up the living room. I just sat there for a moment in the truck, engine off, hands on the steering wheel, trying to gather my thoughts. I didn't want this to turn into another screaming match. I was tired. Tired of the arguing, tired of the disrespect, tired of walking into my own house and feeling like an outsider. When I finally walked in, there she was. Bianca, sprawled across our leather sectional, the one I saved 8 months to buy, like she didn't have a care in the world. She was wearing one of her usual outfits, $40 leggings and a $60 hoodie from some trendy store I'd never stepped foot in for myself. Her face was lit up by the glow of TikTok, thumb flicking through videos while some trashy reality show blared from our 65-inch TV. On the coffee table, a Starbucks cup, probably a $6 iced coffee with extra everything, and a half-eaten sandwich from that overpriced deli downtown. That whole scene, all of it, was paid for by me. And not just with money, with time, sweat, exhaustion. Hey, I said, setting my work bag down by the door. She replied, not even glancing up from her phone. I just stood there for a second, looking at her, this picture of teenage indifference. Here's my daughter, I thought, living in a house I pay for, wearing clothes I bought, drinking coffee I funded, watching TV on a system I saved up for, and she can't even be bothered to acknowledge me when I come home from work. Bianca, I said, trying to keep my tone even. I need to talk to you. Still didn't look up. Okay, Mrs. Preston called me today, I said. That got the slightest pause, but her eyes stayed glued to the screen. She says you haven't turned in your final essay. The one that's worth 40% of your grade. I'll do it this weekend, she muttered, like she was brushing lint off her sleeve. It was due 2 weeks ago. That's when she finally looked up at me, with this look like I'd just interrupted something monumentally important. God, Dad, chill out, she said, exasperated. She'll take it late. Teachers always say stuff is due, but then they accept it anyway. It's not that serious. It is serious, Bianca, I said, stepping further into the room. You're barely passing English as it is. This could make you fail the entire class, which means you won't graduate with your class in June. She groaned, dramatic as ever, throwing her head back into the cushions like I'd just announced the world was ending. Here we go with the doom and gloom speech again, she said. This isn't doom and gloom, I replied. This is reality. Plus, your other grades are slipping. Plus, you came home at 2:30 a.m. last Thursday when your curfew is 10 p.m. on school nights. Plus, you lied to me about where you were last weekend. I didn't lie, she said quickly. I said I was going to Monica's house. You said you were going to Monica's house to study. I said, Monica's mom called me because she thought you were here. Neither of you were where you said you'd be. Her cheeks turned red. She knew she was caught. Whatever. We just changed plans. You changed plans and didn't tell me. I said, that's called lying by omission. That's when she stood up, suddenly, tossing her phone down on the couch like it offended her. Here we go with the rules again, she snapped. Yes, I said firmly. Here we go with the rules. The rules that come with living in this house, having all your expenses paid, and driving a car that costs more than some people make in a year. That's when she completely lost it. She started pacing around the living room like she was about to deliver some over-the-top monologue from a high school play. Arms flailing, voice rising, like the stage lights were on her. "I am so freaking sick of your rules," she yelled, eyes wide. "You have completely and totally ruined my entire life with your obsession with controlling everything I do." She threw her arms in the air, then pointed toward me like I was the villain in some teen drama. "I can't breathe in this house. I can't be myself. I can't do anything without you interrogating me like I'm some kind of criminal." I stayed quiet. Just watched her. She wasn't done. "All my friends have normal parents who actually trust them and treat them like adults instead of prisoners. Mitch's parents let her stay out until 3 a.m. because they trust her judgment and know she's responsible. Kara's dad bought her a BMW and doesn't track her every single move like some kind of psycho stalker. Eliza's mom takes her shopping and they get their nails done together instead of lecturing her about chores and grades all the time." She was on fire now, pacing, gesturing wildly, voice rising with every name she dropped. But as I listened, all I could think about were the things she didn't say. Mitch, the one whose trusting parents had to bail her out twice for underage drinking, who now had community service hours eating up her weekends. Kara, who crashed that shiny BMW into a mailbox because she was texting while driving. Now she had to take the bus to school. No car, no phone, nothing. And Eliza, whose cool mom, was so busy being her BFF that Eliza flunked 3 classes last semester. She might not even walk at graduation. But Bianca didn't bring any of that up. Not a word. What really hit me wasn't the comparisons, or the shouting, or the dramatics. It was the total lack of gratitude. The blindness to everything she had. She'd never wanted for anything. Ever. She had every advantage I never did growing up. A safe home. New clothes. Her own car. Money in her account. Support. But somehow I was the problem. "You know what, Bianca?" I said quietly. That stopped her. Mid-rant. She blinked at me, confused. "What? You're right." She tilted her head, unsure if I was being sarcastic. "Wait, what?" "You're right," I repeated. "Your life. Your choices. If my rules are ruining your life so much, then you shouldn't have to live with them anymore." Her mouth dropped open just a little. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, keeping my voice calm, "you're 18 years old now. You're an adult. And adults don't have to follow their parents' rules." I could see the gears turning in her head, that same head that had just been tossing out accusations like candy. Now it was like she'd been gearing up for a big dramatic showdown, and I'd pulled the rug out from under her. I walked over to the kitchen counter where she always dumped her stuff when she got home. And sure enough, the Jeep key was there, attached to the keychain I gave her for Christmas. A little green cactus that said, "Don't be a prick." She thought it was hilarious when I gave it to her, held it up and laughed. Now, she followed me, voice suddenly smaller. "Dad, what are you doing?" She was right behind me now. I could hear something new in her tone, uncertainty, maybe even fear. The first time I'd heard it in months. "My Jeep," I said simply. "My rules. You don't like the rules, you don't get the Jeep." I pocketed the key and headed toward my home office. "Dad, you can't just take my car," she shouted, trailing after me as I headed for the hallway. I turned around and looked her square in the eye. "It's not your car, Bianca," I said calmly. "Your name isn't on the title. Your name isn't on the insurance policy. You've never paid for gas, maintenance, or repairs. It's my car. I was letting you use it under certain conditions. And you've made it clear you don't want to meet those conditions." "But I have plans tonight," she protested, voice rising. "I'm supposed to pick up Monica and Chloe, and we're going to see that new Marvel movie." "Sounds like you'll need to make new plans," I said, turning back toward the kitchen. "Maybe ask one of your friends with the normal parents to drive." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and tapped my way to the recurring $350 monthly allowance I'd been transferring to her account every month. Right there, in front of her, I canceled it. The app asked me if I was sure I wanted to stop the automatic transfer. I hit confirm. Then I turned the screen toward her so she could see. "My money, my rules." "What the freak, Dad?" "Language," I said, not raising my voice. "Don't tell me about language," she yelled, throwing her hands up. "You just stole my money." "I didn't steal anything," I said. "I stopped giving you an allowance." "There's a difference." "But that's my money. You've been giving it to me for years. And now I'm not," I said flatly. "That's what happens when you're an adult. You earn your own money instead of getting handouts from your parents." Then I walked over to the Wi-Fi router in the hallway, unplugged it. The little green and blue lights blinked off. "My internet," I said, "my rules." That's when the panic really kicked in. She was following me around the house now, her voice getting higher, shriller, more frantic by the second. "This is insane. You can't do this." I have homework to do online. I have to post on Instagram. My Snapchat streaks will break. Sounds like problems that adults have to solve for themselves, I said, heading toward my bedroom. But how am I supposed to do my essay without internet? The same way people wrote essays for thousands of years before the internet existed, I said. Or you could go to the library. They have free Wi-Fi. The library, she shrieked. Dad, you're being ridiculous. I stepped into my bedroom and started to close the door behind me. Dad, please. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean what I said about the rules. Yes, you did, I replied, pausing in the doorway. And that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But you're not entitled to the benefits that come with following rules you don't believe in. This isn't fair. Life isn't fair, sweetheart, I said gently. You'll learn that pretty quickly. You're supposed to be my father. You're supposed to take care of me. I am taking care of you, I said. There's a roof over your head, food in the refrigerator, utilities that work. You have everything you need to survive. What you don't have anymore are the luxuries that came with being part of this family in a meaningful way. Then I shut my bedroom door and locked it. For the next hour, I could hear her outside in the hallway having a complete meltdown. She cycled through everything, begging, bargaining, threatening, crying. I sat on the edge of my bed and listened as it all played out from the other side of the door. At one point, she was pounding so hard on the door, I genuinely thought she might break it. Then she called Renee. I could hear her through the wall, crying and screaming into the phone, telling her mom what a monster I was. I could hear every word through the thin walls. Her voice carried like a siren. Mom, he's lost his mind, she was saying, almost in a full scream. He took my car and my money and turned off the internet. He's being abusive. You have to come get me right now. I just sat on my bed, staring at the wall. Abusive? For taking back things I paid for? For finally holding her accountable? Around 9 p.m., she started pounding on my door again. Dad, I need money for an Uber. I can't just sit here all night. I didn't move. Just said, call your mom to pick you up. She's working. Come on, I just need like $20. Figure it out, Bianca. How am I supposed to figure it out? I don't have any money. That's what happens when you don't have a job or savings, I said through the door. Welcome to adulthood. This is so freaked up. You're supposed to help me. I offered to help you. I reminded her. By providing structure and support. You said you didn't want that help. Then silence. The house went quiet after that. And honestly, I figured she'd called one of her friends to come get her. Probably one with normal parents. The next morning, I got up at 5 a.m. for work as usual, walked past her door, and found it open. Her room looked like a tornado had touched down. Clothes everywhere. Drawers half open. Stuffed animals on the floor. Makeup scattered. She'd clearly packed in a hurry, in a rage. But she was gone. She didn't come home that night. Or the next day. I knew exactly where she was. Renee's apartment, probably being consoled and told how awful I was. But honestly, the house felt peaceful. For the first time in months. No yelling. No passive-aggressive slamming of doors. No TikTok audio blaring through the walls. Just quiet. I spent the next few days getting my ducks in a row. First thing Tuesday morning, I drove over to Renee's apartment complex. Sure enough, Bianca's Jeep was parked in visitor parking. I had a spare key, of course I did. I got in, drove it home, and parked it in my garage where it belonged. A couple of Renee's neighbors saw me and looked like they wanted to say something. One of them, an older lady with a tiny dog, asked, "Everything okay?" "Family business," I said, "just taking care of something," and left it at that. Then I called Verizon. "Hi, I need to make some changes to a line on my family plan," I told the rep. We walked through everything. I downgraded Bianca's phone to the basics. No more unlimited data. No more hotspot. No more international texting. No more Spotify, Netflix add-ons, or cloud storage upgrades. "Are you sure you want to remove all the features?" the rep asked. "Completely sure," I said. "Basic talk and text only. Just enough for emergencies." But the real move, the one I'd been mentally preparing for months, was what I did next. See, I'd been keeping track of Bianca's expenses for a while. Not in a weird, obsessive way. Just curiosity. I manage million-dollar budgets on construction sites. I know how to track numbers. I just wanted to know what it actually cost to support her lifestyle. So I sat down at the kitchen table with my calculator and my bank statements and made a full breakdown. Bianca's monthly expenses. Portion of mortgage for her room, $450. Her room is 180 square feet out of 2,400 total in the house. Proportional. Utilities, electric, water, trash, internet, $85. Roughly 1/3 of our $255 monthly bill. Food and groceries, $280. She eats a lot, and not cheap stuff either. Cell phone, $95. Unlimited everything, plus insurance. I made copies of the breakdown, every line item, every cent. 3 months' worth of bank statements were stapled behind it, highlighting every Venmo transfer, every Amazon order, every charge at Lululemon, Sephora, Starbucks. There was no room for argument, no room for denial. This girl had been living a lifestyle that cost me nearly $23,000 a year, and she acted like it was her birthright. I slid everything into a manila envelope and sealed it. On the front, in big block letters, I wrote, "Since Bianca prefers living with you now, here's what it actually costs to support her lifestyle. Good luck figuring out how to pay for it on $35,000 a year. Dylan." I didn't go up to the apartment. Didn't want to see Renee. I knew how that conversation would go. Accusations, yelling, guilt trips. I wasn't in the mood. I just taped the envelope to her mailbox and left. The call came 2 days later. "Dylan, what the hell is this supposed to mean?" Renee was practically screaming into the phone. "It means exactly what it says," I replied. "Bianca's an adult now. She doesn't want to follow my rules, so she can start paying adult expenses. I can't afford $1,900 a month. I barely make $3,000 after taxes. That's not really my problem anymore, Renee. She's your daughter. She's our daughter. You can't just wash your hands of her because she's acting out. She chose which parent she wants to live with," I said evenly. "Now she gets to experience what that choice actually costs." "You're doing this to punish me," she snapped. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just done paying for a lifestyle for someone who doesn't want to be part of my family." "She wants to be part of your family," Renee insisted. "She just doesn't want to live under your ridiculous rules." "Those aren't separate things, Renee. Being part of a family means contributing and following the basic guidelines that make the family work. She doesn't want that responsibility, so she doesn't get those benefits." There was a long silence. I could hear her breathing hard through the phone. "What if she apologizes?" Renee finally asked. "What if she promises to do better? Has she apologized?" "She's upset right now, but I'm sure if you just talk to her." "Renee, I have talked to her," I said. "For months. I've been patient. I've been understanding. I've bent over backward trying to keep the peace. I gave her every chance to shape up, and she told me, word for word, that my rules ruined her life and that she hated living with me. So I took her at her word. She didn't mean it." "Yes, she did," I said. "And now she gets to live the life she said she wanted." I hung up, went back to work, and you know what? I had a good day. We wrapped up the electrical inspection ahead of schedule. I got home early for once. House was still quiet. Over the next couple of weeks, I started hearing things through the grapevine. Small town, people talk. My neighbor Travis mentioned one morning, while we were both taking out the trash, "Hey, saw Bianca at the bus stop the other day. Looked rough. 7 a.m. Hoodie pulled up, bags under her eyes. Didn't even look up when I said hi. Everything okay?" Mrs. Hawkins, from across the street, stopped me while I was watering the front lawn. "Dylan, I thought you should know, Bianca knocked on my door the other morning. Asked to borrow my car to get to a job interview." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? What did you say?" I told her no, of course. Liability, you know. She broke down, Dylan, right there on my porch. Started crying. That girl looked like she hadn't slept in days. Mrs. Hawkins had pulled me aside that afternoon while I was checking the mail. She just kept saying she was desperate, she told me. Kept promising she'd pay me back somehow. I felt bad for her, Dylan really. But I'm not loaning my car to an 18-year-old I barely know. I nodded. "I understand, Mrs. Hawkins. You don't have to explain." The texts started coming about a week after Bianca moved out. They were short, uncertain at first. "Bianca, Dad, I got a job at Target. Can you give me a ride on my first day?" I saw it. Didn't respond. "Bianca, Dad, please answer me. I know you're seeing these." Nothing. Then, "Bianca, Dad, I need money for work clothes. Target has a dress code and I don't have anything appropriate. Just like $100. Still, I said nothing. Not because I didn't care, but because this was her lesson to learn. She wanted adulthood. She wanted freedom from my rules. That comes with a cost. Her last text came that night. "Bianca, fine. Whatever. I don't need you anyway. Mom said she'd help me figure it out." And that was it. Radio silence. But I heard things. I always did. This is a small town, and people talk. Renee's apartment was a tiny 2-bedroom. Rent was $1,200 a month, and Renee had already been barely scraping by before Bianca showed up. No savings. Paycheck to paycheck. Now, she had an extra mouth to feed and no extra income to cover it. My sister, who's friends with Renee's sister, told me what happened next. Renee tried to keep up with Bianca's lifestyle. Shopping, takeout, daily Starbucks, like nothing had changed. It lasted about 2 weeks. Then her credit cards maxed out. That's when she finally sat Bianca down and told her the truth. "If you're going to keep living here," Renee had said, "you need to pay $400 a month in rent and buy your own food and personal stuff." "But Mom, I don't have $400. Bianca reportedly replied. Then you better figure out how to get it. Bianca had never done a grocery run in her life. She didn't know that a box of brand-name cereal costs $6. Didn't understand that eating Chick-fil-A and poke bowls twice a day adds up to $40 or more daily. She had about $900 saved from years of birthdays and Christmases. That disappeared in less than 2 weeks on food, shampoo, and basic necessities. Her Target job was part-time. No experience, no skills, and, let's be honest, an attitude problem. They were paying her $12 an hour. After taxes, she was pulling in maybe $450 every 2 weeks. It wasn't enough. And she was learning, fast, that the Instagram lifestyle she idolized didn't come free. She didn't tell me any of this. The text had stopped. Her pride wouldn't let her admit she was struggling. Then Renee's car died. Everything went from bad to worse. It was a Wednesday evening when I got the call. I was just settling in after work, nuking some leftovers in the microwave when my phone lit up with her name. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was tired. Hello, Dylan, she said. My car died. The transmission's completely shot. It's going to cost $2,800 to fix. That sucks, I said. Sorry to hear it. I can't afford to fix it. I've got maybe $300 in my checking account. Then buy a different car. With what money? Her voice cracked. I'm already behind on rent because Bianca can barely pay her share. I didn't say anything. She's taking 2 buses to get to Target now, Renee continued. It takes her an hour and a half each way. She has to leave at 6:30 a.m. for a 9 a.m. shift, and she doesn't get home until after 8 p.m. She's exhausted all the time. Renee's voice cracked on the other end of the line, like she was holding back tears. I didn't say anything. Dylan, she's your daughter, she snapped, frustration turning into something more desperate. You can't just abandon her like this. I'm not abandoning her, I said evenly. I'm letting her live the adult life she chose. She made a mistake. She's 18, for God's sake. Teenagers say stupid things when they're angry. And adults live with the consequences of their choices, I replied. She's been crying herself to sleep every night, Renee said. She's lost weight because she can't afford to eat properly. She looks terrible. I took a breath. Maybe she should have thought about that before deciding my rules were ruining her life. There was silence on the line, then a sharp inhale. God, you're cold. No, Renee. I'm consistent, I said. For 18 years I've been telling Bianca that choices have consequences. She chose not to listen. The call ended there. No goodbye, just a click. But I knew it wasn't over. Not even close. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. Renee got evicted. Apparently, she'd already been behind on rent for 3 months before Bianca even moved in. Adding another person without adding any income was the final nail in the coffin. The landlord gave them 72 hours to get out. The same week, Bianca got fired from Target. My buddy Steve, his daughter works there, filled me in on the details. She showed up late constantly, he said. Called in sick once a week. Got into fights with customers and coworkers. Management was done with her. The final straw? A customer asked her to check in the back for a different size shirt, and Bianca said, "That's not my job," then just walked away. The manager followed her and said, "Actually, helping customers is your job." Bianca's response, "Whatever. This place sucks anyway." She started walking off the floor, and the manager fired her on the spot. No job, no apartment, nothing. They were holed up in some rundown weekly motel off the interstate. $400 a week, burning through what little cash they had left. Renee was borrowing from everyone, her parents, her siblings, burning bridges like she was lighting matches in a dry field. And that's when it happened. The call I knew would come eventually. Thursday night, 10:30 p.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Bianca. I stared at the screen, let it ring 4 times. Let her sweat a little. Then I picked up. "Hello, Dad." Her voice was small, shaky, barely recognizable. Nothing like the girl who'd stormed out of my house with fire in her eyes 2 months earlier. "Hi, Bianca. I need to talk to you." "Okay." There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, uneven, like she was trying not to cry. In the background, I heard a TV, some cheap sitcom laugh track echoing in whatever motel room they were stuck in. "I messed up, Dad. Really, really bad." "How so?" "I got fired from Target. Mom got evicted. We're staying in this horrible place, and we're running out of money, and I don't know what to do." "That sounds really stressful." "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about what I said." "Which part?" I asked quietly. "All of it. The stuff about your rules ruining my life, and hating living with you. I was just being dramatic and stupid." I let that sit for a second. "So you do think my rules are reasonable?" There was a pause. Long. Then she said softly, I understand them better now." "What do you understand about them?" I asked, keeping my tone even. "That things cost money. A lot of money. And that you were paying for everything, and just asking me to be responsible in return. And I wasn't being responsible at all." I stayed quiet. Let her keep going. What else? That having a curfew isn't about not trusting me. It's about safety and structure and showing respect for your house. She sniffled. Her voice trembled. And that doing chores isn't punishment. It's just being part of a family, contributing to the household instead of just taking everything. Anything else? She was crying now, really crying. I could hear it in the way she exhaled, sharp and broken, that I had a really, really good life. And I threw it away, because I wanted to be mad at you instead of appreciating what you gave me. I was spoiled and ungrateful and horrible to you. Bianca, yeah. Are you asking to come home? Yes. Please. I'll follow every rule. I'll do whatever you want. I can't do this anymore. I don't know how to be an adult yet. I didn't respond right away. I let her sit with that silence. Let it weigh the moment. Then finally I said, okay, you can come home. She let out a sob of pure relief. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. I promise I'll be different this time. But there are conditions. The crying stopped instantly. What conditions? First, you apologize to Mrs. Preston. Ask her if there's any way to make up the work you missed. Your education is non-negotiable. Okay. Second, you get a job within 1 week of moving back in. And you pay me $300 a month in rent. 300? She gasped. Yes. That's way below market rate for a room in this area. But you need to learn that housing costs money. But that's like almost all my paycheck. Then you'll need to work more hours. Or find a better job. That's what adults do. Okay. Third, you buy your own food, clothes, toiletries, and personal items. I'll cover the utilities and household expenses. But your individual expenses are your responsibility now. But, Dad, I don't have any money saved. Then you'll need to figure that out quickly. Welcome to budgeting. She was quiet. What about my allowance? She asked after a while. What about it? I mean, will I get it back? Eventually. Bianca, you just told me you're ready to be an adult and follow my rules. Adults don't get allowances from their parents. Adults earn their own money. Long silence. Fourth, all the old rules apply. Curfew, chores, grades, respect, plus some new ones. Like what? Like you hand me your phone every night at 10 p.m. I'll give it back in the morning before work or school. Dad, she stopped herself. Those are the terms. Take them or leave them. That seems really harsh. You know what's harsh? Living in a weekly motel and taking 2 buses to a job that barely pays minimum wage. You want to come back to a life where your biggest worry is handing over your phone at 10 p.m.? These are the conditions. Another pause. Deep and long. What about my car? What about it? Can I earn it back? Eventually, I took a breath. The Jeep is gone, Bianca. What do you mean gone? I mean I sold it. 2 weeks after you moved out. You sold my car. I sold my car that I was letting you use. I said calmly, holding my ground. You said my rules ruined your life, so I removed the things that came with those rules. But I need a car. Then you'll need to save up and buy one. There's a bus stop 2 blocks from here. Dad, this isn't fair. I can't work and go to school and pay rent without a car. Lots of people do it every day, Bianca. You'll figure it out. Please, Dad, I've learned my lesson. Can't you just give me another chance with the car? I took a breath. Bianca, 3 minutes ago you were crying and apologizing and saying you'd do anything to come home. Now you're arguing with my conditions and demanding I give you a car. Which version of you am I talking to? She went quiet. The car is gone. The allowance is gone. The old life where everything was handed to you, gone. What I'm offering you is a chance to earn back some privileges by proving you can handle responsibility. Do you want that chance or not? Yes. Then stop arguing about what you can't have and start thinking about how you're going to handle what you need to do. Okay. You can move back in this weekend. Your mom is welcome to visit, like a normal divorced parent should, a few hours on weekends, holidays, whatever. But this is your primary residence, and you follow my rules here. Okay. And Bianca, this is the last time we're having this conversation. If you decide you don't like the rules again, you're welcome to leave. But you won't be welcome back. Do you understand? I understand. Good. I'll see you Sunday. She moved back in that Sunday afternoon, and everything about her was different. Bianca had lost about 15 pounds, wore thrift store clothes instead of designer brands, and, shockingly, actually said please and thank you. The entitled princess who'd stormed out 2 months earlier? Gone. Renee tried to negotiate the rules I'd set when she dropped her off, but Bianca cut her off. Mom, it's fine. I agreed to this. The first week was rough. Bianca got a job at a local diner, coming home exhausted and smelling like fryer oil. She spent her entire first paycheck on work clothes and non-slip shoes, then had to borrow $50 from me for bus fare. I made her sign a payment plan, $10 a week for 5 weeks. The hardest adjustment for her was surrendering her phone each night at 10 p.m. She'd check the clock obsessively at first, going through what looked like withdrawal. But slowly, She started using her evenings for homework, for reading, actual books. Her grades jumped to solid B's across the board. 3 months later, she was unrecognizable. She paid her rent in exact cash, cooked her own meals, did laundry without being asked. We had real conversations again. She'd tell me about her day, ask for advice, even laughed at my dad jokes. Then came the moment that changed everything. After working double shifts all week, she came home and sat across from me at the kitchen table. She pulled an envelope from her bag, stuffed with crumpled cash tips, and slid a folded $100 bill across the table. "I want to give you this," she said. "I want to save up to buy my own car. Not anything fancy, just something reliable, something I can pay for myself." I looked at her, this girl who, 8 months ago, thought the world owed her everything, now working double shifts to prove she could earn what she wanted. "Keep your money," I said, handing it back. "But I appreciate the gesture more than you know." Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.